If any Democratic president had presided over the roaring stock market, 2 million new jobs created in 2017, and robust GDP growth that President Trump has presided over, the media would be churning out fawning coverage of him and his entire economic team. Reporters at the New York Times and CNN, oh my gosh, they'd be interviewing everyday Americans on the street who would talk about how his policies were making their lives so much better. And on foreign policy, what would they be saying? You'd be reading and hearing daily about how other countries were marveling at his bold, transformative approach to global affairs. America wasn't going to be taken for granted or taken to the cleaners any longer by allies or enemies. Yet, of course, there's no such luck for President Trump, who instead endures day after day of the most sickeningly biased and overrated coverage by pundits and DNC operatives masquerading as journalists. Like a good campaign operation, this comical commentariat coordinates their messaging. Just as the president is hitting his stride on judicial nominations, tax reform, enforcing our rule of law, deregulation, and trade, they play the only card they have: personal attacks.
This president is unstable, and he basically acts like a child inside the White House and can't be controlled.
We interviewed Trump half a dozen times, maybe a dozen over the course of the year, and he would often tell the same stories over and over again. He both has these issues of mental fitness and then has these questions of intellectual capacity.
If this were the leader of Germany or China or Brazil, what would we say? We would say these are the messages from a person who is not well.
None of this normal, none of this acceptable, none of this frankly stable behavior.
Now, the interesting question isn't why they're doing this. It's why aren't Republicans responding to defend this president with the same coordinated and well-orchestrated communication strategy? One recent ray of hope in that regard came before Christmas, on the day all those GOP members of Congress showed up at the White House, and together with the president, they celebrated the passage of tax reform. That image sent a powerful signal of unity and support. And it was just the type of organized, unified front that we need as we kick off the new year with a lot of new challenges. I think we should let the American people see an optimistic, determined, focused GOP and White House working together seamlessly. And I'm talking about on the issues Trump ran on. Issues like border enforcement, the wall, trade, reducing the size of government. We do not need 1,000 different voices talking at cross purposes on the core goals of the Trump agenda that were so popular that drove him to office. And as for defending against the slippery toads who sit around kvetching while others do the hard work of governing, all I'll say is this: consider the sources and how spectacularly wrong they've been in their supposed area of expertise.
Donald Trump will not be the Republican nominee in almost all certainty. And the other is that he will not be president.
That's a guy who knows he's going to lose. I don't know that he's ever wanted to win, but it's just, it's sad.
I thought about 8 weeks ago or so that she could not win simply by being not Trump. Turns out, no, not really.
Well, but that's because
she's just not Trump, and she's going to be president of the United States with a fairly significant electoral margin.
This is not funny. This is really bad. Just for the record, we're all really nervous. So if people out there feel nervous, we do too. We don't think this is funny.
Actually, I think their over-the-top, histrionic episodes of faulty and emotional predictions are absolutely hilarious. This is all they got. Trump's policies are working. They know they're working. The country's working. And they claim Trump is out of touch and disengaged? No, he's not. But maybe it's time to look into the mirror, kids. Now, unlike so many who never saw the Trump juggernaut coming, I did. And I support the conservative populist agenda he ran on. But at the same time, I'll continue to be candid about the pitfalls and problems this administration faces. And I'll continue to point out not just the successes, but the missteps, everybody makes missteps, and missed opportunities, as I did last night. Look, no White House staffer should have ever been encouraged to speak with a muckraker like Michael Wolff. How did he have access to the White House? Think about this guy. His book is replete with errors and unsubstantiated rumors, bad or no sourcing, and it contains lines that people may or may not have said. Hey, but don't take my word for it. Former Obama auto czar Steve Ratner wrote in a tweet, Bannon may well have said all that stuff, but let's remember that Wolff is an unprincipled writer of fiction. Then Maggie Haberman of the New York Times offered this insight.
He creates a narrative that is notionally true, that conceptually true. The details are often wrong, and I can see several places in the book that are wrong. He gets basic details wrong. He has a history of telling people they're off the record and then disregarding that.
Right now.
Wait a second. And Wolff is the man, and the work that he put in this book is what the left has pinned all their hopes and dreams of for taking down Trump? Good luck with that. This is nothing but a left-wing la-la land stuff. Wolff is a type of author who traffics in broad generalities and poisonous, unsubstantiated facts. Mr. President, your political instincts are terrific. Remember, spitballs off a battleship. That means you're the battleship. Keep your eye on the prize. The prize is the American people. Wolff's lurid tall tales and embellished quotes are not going to negate the election, or they're not going to stop your progress on behalf of the American people. In fact, Gallup, remember this, reported this week that at the end of December, the president's approval rating was up to its highest level in 6 months. President Trump has had a really good year, all things considered, and he's poised to have an even better 2018. That means the country's going to have a better year. In fact, the president seems to have all the fire. And the only fury I see is coming from the media, who hate to cover it. And that's the angle. And joining me now with reaction from Orlando is Roger